concept of justice, and it really leaves the victims like the Goldmans and Browns, hanging for years to come. So
yeah, that's a shame because I mean, if he for the common man, a regular person that doesn't have a lot of money, and they owe, and the judge, awards somebody some money, and what they're going to do is they're going to attach it to his the other guy who's working. They're going to attach it to his earnings. It's going to come out from his withdrawal from the company that he works for, and so the regular person out on the street is going to have that money to pay back immediately almost. But someone who's rich, like O.J., and other people like that, it may be years or never before they pay any of it back.
And I understand that frustration. The only consolation I can offer you tonight, Mary, is that if O.J. is listening to the show, and God,
yes,
I hope he is.
But you're in jail, and I'm
not. But you know what? You can't call in, O.J., because you're in a Nevada prison.
That's right.
And Jordan doesn't collect calls.
No. I would, however, if O.J. called.
Yeah, I bet he would.
All right, well,
okay,
Mary,
thank
it's good
you
talking
so much.
to you. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, bye-bye.
Appreciate that, Mary.
Bye.
Yeah. He's a very good caller indeed, and that's some very strong points in terms of civil litigation, which is a whole different ballgame than criminal, as your liberty is on the line as opposed to your dollars, right?
Absolutely. So.
And have you ever been involved with civil litigation in terms of covering it or doing it?
Jordan, my practice is 95% criminal defense. That 5% is some civil litigation that I typically do with other attorneys, but there's got to be a nexus to criminal law to it. Way back when there used to be the family lawyer and the family doctor, and they kind of did a little bit of everything. But, both law and medicine, as you know, are getting so specialized. You really need to stick to pretty much one area and not go too far outside of it. And I'll throw that out there to everyone listening. There's some really good lawyers, but, my biggest fear is that you're a jack of all trades and master of none. And I see some lawyers in the criminal arena who, are dabbling in different areas, and they're really not proficient. So, word of the wise, if you're in need of a criminal defense attorney, find someone who just really focuses in that area and knows what they're doing. They're proficient, they're up to date, they know the latest trends, and those are the ones that can give you the best help.
That's very important, right? That's underrated.
I think it's a mistake that a lot of people have made, and I take cases over for other attorneys, and it's unfortunate when I'm taking a case over for a dabbler, as I like to call them. Sometimes the damage is done, and I really can't fix it. That there are timelines that are blown, and things that I'd like to do for my clients that I know need to be done and should have been done, but unfortunately, the time is up, and I'm kind of behind the 8 ball already. So. That's my public service announcement for tonight. So.
Yeah, no question about it. And now we won't get into this case, but do you plan on doing closing or opening arguments
in my trial?
Yes.
You're referring to the large high-profile case I'm handling right now?
Absolutely. How does that work? Do you all get together, and is that the client? Is that the team?
Whenever you're working in, and for those people who are listening, I'm involved in a very high-profile case right now, but there's a gag order, so
and
I really can't say.
You were interviewed by ABC 15, right?
Very general, very general. There's just not a whole lot of facts I can get into. But what I can say conceptually is that when you have the luxury of working in more of a team and there are other attorneys, you can divide up the workload. And you look at the attorney's strengths and Who might be the most effective doing an opening or a closing or with certain witnesses. And, sometimes you got to say, you take that witness, I'll take that witness, and it goes on and on. Personally, I like dealing with expert testimony. I like the nitty gritty. So that's something that I will gravitate more towards. And, some witnesses will take more time and effort, and, maybe it'll be a 60-40 split, if you would, between the lawyers. But really what it comes down to is doing what's best for your client. There's no magic recipe. There's no magic formula. And you can ask, Kirk Nurmi that when he's on next week. I mean, I think Arias is a great example of how they had to divide the workload, and that has nothing to do with how you feel about Jodi or Juan Martinez. This is just a simple function of practicing law with large-scale litigation. That you want to be your absolute best for your client. You want to be the most efficient, but you can't have such a big ego to say that you're going to take it all on yourself. So.
But I think from a client's perspective, if I was picking a lawyer, why I would pick you is that I know that you are up on social media, which is very important nowadays in a criminal case and could actually convict a client. But for me, knowing that you know all the ins and outs of that, I would feel comfortable, and I'm not just saying that to blow steam on you. I'm telling you the goddamn truth. I feel that there are a lot of old school people that are not up on the social media aspect of it, which plays a huge role. And you are 100% up on it.
Well, but remember, it's not cookie cutter. No case is cookie cutter. No client is cookie cutter. And what it comes down to is customizing your representation. If you're going to really be an effective criminal defense attorney, that not every case gets the same approach. You have different clients, you have different facts, you have different legal issues, and I think you almost have to be a little bit of a chameleon to address the situation. I mean, and I'm sorry for bringing up her name over and over. She's like herpes; she won't go away, Jodi Arias. But But how you present yourself, in a case like that, Kirk, the way Kirk would try that case would be very different than a big white collar case involving a lot of paper. There's different points you have to make, and at the same time, you're doing a paper case and it's boring. I personally love it because I'm very detail oriented, and there's a way to make it sexy, but it's not going to be sexy in the same way that you're trying a murder case with a lot of gratuitous violence and sex.
Right. But like the jury getting to like you, how important is that, Jason?
Well, I don't look for Christmas cards for my jurors.
I wouldn't expect that.
I want to give them the information, and I think this is the case with any attorney. You want them to listen to you. You don't want them to wall off from you. And you were talking a little while ago about jury selection and picking the right type of jury. And part of that is seeing how people react to you. Are they, evasive in their body language? The bottom line is, I just want a juror who's going to give my client a fair shake, that's going to listen to the evidence, so I can give them the very best defense possible. This isn't about my ego. I could give a shit about my ego. Now, by the same token, if you have a criminal defense attorney who doesn't have a pair to get up in front of the jury, run as a client. Because you do have to be able to walk the walk. But at the end of the day, when I'm up in front of a jury, it's not the I love me show. And people make that mistake. But you got to get in there and do what's best for your client to connect with that jury. They don't need to like me. They just need to be able to connect and be receptive. That's all I'm looking for.
But at the same time, you would agree you don't want them to hate you either.
Well, of course not. I mean, if they're closed off and walled off, if you're deceptive, disingenuous, you're aloof, they're not going to receive that information. They're just not going to. And if they're not listening to you, how can they understand your positions and try and do what you want on behalf of your client? That goes both ways. prosecutor and defense.
Did you start out prosecuting?
I did, as a matter of fact, and I think it's important as an advocate to be able to see both sides. You know, and
Yes.
Jordan, when I've been on, I mean, you were asking me when we chatted earlier today, you know, about what type of position do I take on a particular issue, and you know,
right.
my position is to try and be down the middle and be an advocate. You know, there's things that I can see both sides of. It's being fair. It's being objective, and I think that's what gives the better lawyers the insight, because just like we talked about picking a jury earlier, you know, whoever the prosecutor likes, I probably don't like. But when I'm litigating a case, my strongest point is the prosecution's weakness. Their strongest point is my weakness. And you have to embrace your weaknesses to get strength, and you have to see that. You can't ignore it. And I've always said that litigation is a chess match. Whether you're trying, you know, a civil case, whether you're trying a criminal case, or you know, even a custody or divorce case. That's what smart lawyers do.
It is, and you know, you should be commended. And you know, there are people listening, and if they're in trouble and they're in the West Coast area, I'm sure.
Is it time for my shameless plug, Jordan?
Yes, it's time. But let me ask you seriously. You can theoretically walk into a California courtroom, right, and be somebody's lawyer if they wanted it that way, right?
Sure. Let me explain to you and to the folks listening how this works. I'm licensed in the state of Arizona. I'm licensed in the state of Maryland. If I want to go into a California state court, and I'm stressing the word state for just this moment, I have to apply for admission, what's called pro hoc vice. It basically means it's a temporary permit. Oftentimes when you do that, you have to have a local attorney sponsor you. I practiced in Los Angeles several years ago, and I had a case in San Diego as well. It's very doable. And I have found that as long as you don't act like a schmuck, judges and opposing counsel are very decent. The federal system is a little bit different in that the rules in federal courts across the country, Arizona, New York, Florida, Washington, and everywhere in between, the rules are the same. There's some local nuances and flavors, but generally speaking, you can either do a pro hoc vice with a local sponsor, or in some instances, you can just become a member of that bar. I recently had a case in Illinois that ended late last year, and it was a federal case, and it was just a matter of showing them that I was an attorney in good standing in another federal court, and I provided documentation, and I think my application fee was $223, and now I am a permanent member of the bar of the Central District of Illinois.
So you could practice there.
I could. It would be hard. It would be a horribly long commute for me to do that on a regular basis. But for the right case and the right client who's in the Central District of Illinois, we'll figure something out. But over the years, I have so many different memberships that I've accumulated for a federal court, and experienced criminal defense attorneys. That happened many years ago. I could have applied pro hoc vice for a big drug case I was doing in federal court in Nebraska, and that would have cost me $15. Permanent membership cost me $20. I am a proud member of the bar of the United States District Court for the District of Nebraska, and I never thought I would use it again. But what do you know? 9 months later, I was right back out there on another case I got hired on. So, stranger things have happened.
That is pretty interesting, and a lot of people like to bash defense attorneys, but when you're in trouble, they're the first person. You're the first person that's going to get the phone call. It's funny how
I'm the best friend you never want to have.
Right. And there's a lot of great testimonials on your webpage. What is your website?
If you need to get in touch with me for legal representation, my website is phoenixcriminalattorney.com. That's phoenixcriminalattorney.com. You can also find me on Twitter at PHX.